Hey, welcome to the Backyard Professor Live, Sunday night, November 23rd, 6 p.m. Mountain Time in the United States of America. Welcome, everybody. Good to see y'all. So, I want to share some ideas on this documentary that we've been waiting for umpteen months to show, to finally come out. Dan Farah has done an absolutely outstanding job. It could be very well awarded the documentary of the year, The Age of Disclosure, on Amazon Prime for $25. Well worth the money. I get it. There's some who will always complain that if you even make a penny on this, you're a grifter. Tough luck. Stay in ignorance then. It was well worth my time and money. And I would encourage you strongly to take a look at this incredible, informing documentary. Thank you, Dan Farah. I want to give you my personal thanks for what I can only consider to be a tremendous amount of work going into this. Very educational, not what I expected. There are some negative reviews out there. I know Vetted isn't very happy with the discussion that Dan Farah had with Joe Rogan. I found it to be exquisitely interesting, very informative. There are several who have jumped on the bandwagon making videos like I am doing now, reviewing, and I've got clips of a few of these to share with you, some of their ideas and then some of my ideas. I think overall, we are better for it than not. And I mean way better for numerous reasons that several commentators have already mentioned, and I will explain some of my process of my thinking with this as well. Very interesting. Let me share with you the opening of, I don't know who worked harder at this particular documentary, Dan Farah or the Good Trouble Show, Matt Ford. If you haven't seen his information, I would strongly recommend it. Matt Ford, I met him at the Contact in the Desert. I interrupted his breakfast. I put my nose up in his face while he was eating, and I think it kind of peeved him off at me, but you know, hey, I'm the backyard professor. I figured I could get away with crap like that. But no, Dan Ford has done an absolute tremendous job here. And I'm going to share the, let's see, which one is it? Right there. That's the one. I'm going to share this with you. Let me see how it's showing on my stream. Yeah, this will work good enough. You don't mind seeing my ugly mug off to the side. You're not going to be watching me anyway. Let me share this with you. Listen to this lineup that Dan Ford got together and what this documentary is all about. It's absolutely awesome.
In a year when governments, scientists, and military insiders can no longer deny the reality of UFOs, everything is about to change. A bombshell new documentary, The Age of Disclosure, is about to drop. And in it, government officials go on the record with one reality. UFOs, UAP are real for the first time ever. The Good Trouble Show brings together 18 voices from across the disclosure landscape. From Congress, Eric Burleson, Kirsten Gillibrand. From the Senate's Inner Circle, Kirk McConnell. From national media, Marek von Rennenkamp. From Disclosure Foundation, Jordan Flowers. From Public Safety, Keith Taylor. From America's campuses, Sri Tata. From finance, Eric Zaidak. From global astronomy, Beatriz Villarreal and Avi Loeb. From academic science, Kevin Knuth. From biotech and intelligence research, Gary Nolan. From classified physics programs, Hal Puthoff. From cognitive neuroscience, Julia Mossbridge. From Navy NASA research, Lawrence Forsley. From historic military encounters, Robert Salas. And from around the world, journalist Ross Coulthard and intelligence analyst Sarah Gam. 18 people, one message. UAP disclosure isn't coming someday, it's happening right now.
All right. There is your blurb, Matt. Yes, you're welcome, my friend. That was breathtaking to watch. I mean, he had to have worked his butt off getting all those folks sharing videos, ideas, themes with him, letters, whatever. Really excellent material. I had a lot of fun watching it. First, let me say, this is not to downplay James Fox and his excellent documentaries. They are just powerful, in my opinion. This one, however, is in a league of its own. James Fox's is in a league of their own. Well worth the effort to watch. This one has 34 main intelligence officers, military personnel, government people whom Dan Farah has interviewed and talked with, and who, quite frankly, really, for a lack of a better way to put this, they spilled the beans compared to what they even could have said just 10 years ago. The needle has been moving steadily for the last 80 years. Very, very slowly, too slowly, as far as I'm concerned. However, I'm not convinced anymore within the realm of the research I've been able to put into this. I'm not convinced anymore that very, very many of us, if any of us at all, have the big picture on this whole situation. Our context is run essentially at this point that I have seen for the last year and a few months that I've been broadcasting. Our base is impatience. And unfortunately, I'm one of those examples. If you watch some of my earlier videos, wow, I can see how people thought I was coming across angry. I really wasn't. Our impatience causes us to narrow our vision. And that is vastly more dangerous than it need be. So my approach, and I'm evolving to, I'm like J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm evolving with this story. By the way, the book of the month for me is the Collected Vignard Tengwa. This is volume 5 of the collected editions, the last one they put together on Tolkien, issues 41 through 50, sensational materials. This is the scholarly stuff. This is the stuff I'm using to write my Tolkien handbook on the linguistics and etymology and how to translate the Sindarin elf language, because I'm reading the books, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, with my grandkids, and they want to learn some Elvish. So I am studying Elvish, the language Sindarin. Kenya is the earlier, better attested one. I'm going to go with the Sindarin because that's what The Lord of the Rings had. So I will be doing many more Tolkien videos. I know I've actually had quite a few people who've asked me, hey, you haven't quit talking about Tolkien, have you? No, I have not. Tonight's not that night, though. This documentary is a breath of fresh air for a few reasons that I can tell. Number one, its intended audience. I hate to put it this way. I truly do. Well, thank you, Michael Ray. That's very kind of you. Appreciate that. The intended audience is not you and I. Sorry. We have been studying this stuff for a long time. We have been bantering back and forth, arguing, butting heads, bashing each other for stupidity displayed, etc., in our online UFO YouTube community. And I'm not sure if I put out any half-intelligent stuff yet either. I'm working on it. We're not the intended audience. The difference with this documentary that I can tell is I have seen an enormous participation with CBS and CNN and Fox, the news channels, interviewed Dan Farah, Jake Tapper, Joe Rogan. Several people have been interviewing Dan Farah on this documentary. Oh, thank you, Robert Tunley. Bless your heart. Appreciate the support. And this is different. This is an extension for the public. Look, you and I, my friends, we are the huge minority. There's not a lot of us in this community compared to the population of just the United States, let alone the rest of the world. I mean, I guarantee you there's more people in Australia who've not studied or care about UFOs than those of us. Yes, I saw your UFO show. Yeah, the show from down under. Appreciate you being here tonight. We're not the majority. And so it makes sense. We need greater influence, I'll put it. We need more voices. We do. We need a better dialogue. More heads are better than none. More heads are better than 3 million. There are probably, I would guesstimate, 3 million of us worldwide who have an interest in this topic. Wouldn't it be nice, seriously, if this documentary doubled that number to 6 million? Sincerely, that would be fantastic. I would look at that. I would take a victory lap for that one, because it's here. It's upon us. I've said this in previous videos. Some of them several months ago. I get to upgrade, update what I'm saying about the UFO phenomenon. If you want disclosure, it has happened. This documentary is your disclosure, but it's more than that. It's not here to teach us something new. That mindset is stopping you from learning. It's stopping you from progressing. It is designed to talk to those people who just have never bothered to study the subject. Or perhaps even better, it's designed for those who are sitting on the fence. They're saying, well, yeah, UFOs, I can take it or leave it, etc. This documentary shows them that a lot of very important people in an astonishing number of very important positions have shown us now that the question isn't, do the UFOs and aliens exist and are they here? They do, and they are. Now, what has come out in this incredible documentary is the infighting within the government various offices on how to keep this secret from you and I. That's what this documentary demonstrated finest of all. Oh, thank you again, Robert. And that should piss you off enough to get activated. If you're going to keep screaming, well, give me something new, give me disclosure, etc., then start getting active in making the disclosure yourself. Because the other electrifying thing about this documentary, and I'm going to emphasize this really truly, is the stigma did not last. No one in this documentary who has clout, and all of them did, no one even approached the attitude of UFOs. Oh, brother, here we go again. There was no mockery. There was no shame in talking about it. And there was, for someone in the John Q. public arena, and that's all of us as well, but for someone out there who is not involved in the YouTube videos being produced by so many fine producers out there, who is not aware of all of this information that we keep trying to share about comets, about UFO motherships, about alien bodies, about contact, about abductions, about retrofitting and making the UFOs ourselves in the secret race with China or Russia or whoever it is we're trying to back manufacture UFO craft. All of that information is brand spanking new to the majority of people who are going to watch this documentary. Now, that is exquisitely good news for the UFO community. The stigma is going away. Now, you can't tell me that doesn't matter. That absolutely matters without question. More and more and more and more military personnel are coming out and saying, hey, something is going on, both in the Navy and in the Air Force. We are aware now, and Richard Dolan in Foresight has been writing on this on the USOs. And by the way, I have a couple of clips of him I will share that he kicked out just today. He and Bryce Zeibel had an excellent discussion on this Age of Disclosure documentary this morning that I would highly recommend. The clips I'm going to take from is another video that he produced on his own without Bryce. The stigma is disappearing, which means that there's going to be new minds from people who weren't involved before and who are now becoming involved, and they're going to turn to us for discussions, questions, etc. Look, this documentary came out directly and said David Grush was correct in his congressional testimony of everything he said. He said there is wrecked UFOs that we have, and we are back engineering those. He said there is alien bodies that we have in his congressional testimonial. To you and I, that's old hat. Oh, tell me something new. Wait, just stop. Think about what I just said. We have alien bodies. There are those who say there are living aliens among us. That's stunning. That's electrifying. Well, where's your proof? You don't understand. We're not doing proof at this point. We're doing testimony of those who have seen the proof. Why? Aren't you just flapping your lip? That is one way you could put it. Yes, they really are, but they're in a position to be able to flap their lip credibly. Vastly better than any of us YouTube video producers, any of you who are in our audience. So here's the kicker that I somewhat put it together. Marco Rubio was in this film, and he came flat out and said, we know there are craft in the air that we cannot catch, we cannot imitate, we cannot mimic, we don't know what they are. They are way beyond our capability, etc. Okay, now that's the prong number one. What's the second prong? Where is Marco Rubio working right now? In Donald Trump's administration. Now, listen it up and listen it up carefully. Do you really think Donald Trump is going to let Marco Rubio be the only one to share the information in what is going to become, I think, the documentary of the year without Trump getting any glory? Do you really think that, given his approach to always wanting to be in the spotlight, that he's going to be happy that how come he got to be in the documentary and I didn't? Well, I'm going to do something bigger and better. And what do you think that could be? Now, I agree. I'm speculating. I get it. It's all speculation here. Here's the deal. The government. Well, I mean, we've heard in the discussion with Dan Farah on, was it Joe Rogan? I bet it was Joe Rogan. Don't quote me on this, but I've heard the discussion, okay? I've been watching so much of this stuff. I'm not quite sure where I heard this from. So sorry, I'm going to give you some speculation here. Donald Trump, in his first administration, was going to go to the microphone and become the disclosure president. And I believe it was Jay Stratton whom he had come into him and talk with him. And Jay Stratton is in this documentary. Absolutely. Are you kidding? Him and Lou Elizondo. I about said Lou Ferrigno. The Incredible Hulk. Woohoo! Of course, then Lou Elizondo is about as big as the Incredible Hulk. That guy has arms, man. Their concern with the highest government official disclosing just catastrophic disclosure to the American people. Their concern, and rightly so, listen, don't argue for the minute. Just hear this out. What is going to be the consequences on the economy, not of our country only? That's not it. We Americans love to think the world revolves just around us because we are the most important thing God ever created. Okay, I get it. We have egos the size of the Grand Canyon. All right, I'm with you. However, reality comes and strikes our egos down. On a worldwide basis, catastrophic disclosure is not the safest way. What we have been getting, 20, 30 years now is a drip, drip, drip. And I know we all hate it. Tough luck. Be thankful that they're doing the drip, drip, drip. perhaps they are in communication with the ETs. We have some testimony saying that they're working with live aliens still in Area 51. I'm just saying, paying attention to all the little rabbit trails that we go down, rabbit holes and trails. This idea of a drip, drip, drip has to occur for a very simple reason. And this will gall some of us. I get it. This is going to torque your britches. I'm with you. I get it. Tough luck. Suck it up, cupcake, because here's your reality. Live with it or go throw your tizzy fit. It's your choice. But if you want to see what's real, here you go. I'm telling it to you right now. They are not going to give you catastrophic disclosure because it will destroy the economy. And they are giving it to us step by step because they know something from the aliens themselves that they can't tell. Look, bottom line, the aliens are vastly superior to us in some regards. Technologically, we haven't got a prayer. Don't be shooting at them, you stupid moron. Don't do it. That's like taking a slingshot and shooting a gorilla without the bars between you. Good luck, moron, if you're that damn stupid to do that. Good luck. That's all I got to tell you. Don't cry to me when you lose both your arms. Don't even pretend you're going to get my sympathy. Put your slingshot away, Mr. Macho. Not going to work. Something about the communication with the aliens, with those in charge of the world governments, is possibly, I don't have any evidence for this, this is my speculation, but there is an agenda and a plan, and it's not ours. It's going to be the aliens. They will disclose when they feel good and ready. And if you don't like their timetable, tough luck. Get over it. Because what other choice have you got? Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to, if you think the C5 protocol works and you want to go communicate with them, have at it, dude, ma'am. You bet. Go talk to him yourself. Tell him the riot act. You give him your peace of mind. You tell him, hey, damn you, I want to see you right now. I want to see you get your sorry little scrawny ass right down here, right now. You show yourself to me. I'm important. You come and get me. You come and talk to me. You just go right ahead and go have a heyday with it. In the meantime, back to reality, there is a disclosure happening, but not the way we want. But it is happening. And the proof is this documentary. There are very, very many serious officials who have truly reported in this documentary that just kind of take your breath away. It's pretty impressive. So I like the idea that we are getting the disclosure and it's for our own good. And sometimes something will happen to us and we hate it and we kick and scream and spit and shout. And too bad, reality doesn't care about your attitude. It's going to unfold how it wants to. That's my suspicion of what's going on here. But if you want disclosure, you've got it. We never could, and they didn't necessarily, I agree with Dolan here. And I probably more subconsciously than consciously while I was watching this incredible documentary, I was probably thinking, I wonder how much they're going to talk about, right? Are they going to accidentally slip and reveal classified information? Well, no, they didn't. But I mean, alien bodies. You remember when I first got on here over a year ago, how much that just wigged me out. I was so astonished I couldn't hardly make a video when I was making the video because I was so thunderstruck with it. That's what happens in this documentary for all of those others out there who need to become a part of this dialogue. That is happening better now than it ever has, even with the congressional hearings. Instead of just giving a 3 to 5 second clip on the major news networks, oh, Congress had a hearing about UFOs. Now, in other more important news, there was a bus crash on Fifth Avenue in Saks. 3 people were injured and the fire got, the bus caught on fire and all that. No, they are actually interviewing Dan Farah, and some of these interviews are going on for like 15 minutes, and Joe Rogan gave him a 3-hour blurb, etc. This is getting more in the news networks than anything else I have ever heard of being produced concerning the idea. And no, it's not little green men. Dan Farah was pretty exquisite about that. He was pretty adamant about that. We're not doing the super sensational, unrealistic approach here. This is trying to be as realistic as we can, which is mind-boggling enough that we literally do have alien species among us. And they're alive, and they do have a superior technology that they fly around in, immune from different. You can be flying in the air and it'll jump down into the water in the ocean and continue traveling several hundred miles an hour. And those of you who are in the Navy or, who were in the Marines or whatever, go ahead and pipe up and tell me that we can do that. Sure, yeah. You've been on a submarine that'll do that, right? No, you haven't. You know it. We just don't have that technology. So, to the public at large, those who needed to see this documentary because it was made for them, that is going to be astonishingly enough amazing. And they are going to want to find other people to talk about that. That's the power of this documentary, in my opinion. So with that being said, let me share another clip that I thought was really good. Let's see, is it this one? Let me share Richard Dolan with you. Let me share Richard. Richard's always, have I got it on the right one? No, I don't. Hold on, let me get it here. 1526, close enough. Let me make sure that he is on. Yes, that is our good friend Richard Dolan. Let's hear what Richard Dolan has to say.
I think that's probably most of the main events. It was much heavier on insider testimony than actual UFO evidence. I don't think that's what this film was really meant to be about. And in fact, it really concludes with a discussion of the secrecy structure. Contractors are described as very powerful and FOIA-proof entities, that is, immune from freedom of information requests. Rubio, again, had a very interesting statement here. It's very interesting that Rubio is saying these things because he is now Secretary of State to the President Donald Trump, and you really have to wonder how deeply they've gone into this. But one thing Rubio talked about with some level of sophistication, I have to say, is that these corporate entities may really ultimately control the recovered technology. And he had a few things to say about this, essentially to the effect that the politicians come and go. We've all known this. And then he stated that the people, below the director, which are all politically appointed, he says the lifers within these departments, they certainly know far, far more and don't always tell the political appointees at the top everything. But then he stated even beyond that, the government people come and go, but the contractors are always involved in this. And he said over time, you really seem to be developing a situation where the contractors may have the ultimate control over the recovered technology. So that's Marco Rubio saying that. That's not a trivial thing. He's someone in some real power today. So again, you wonder what he has spoken to Donald Trump about regarding this. You've got to think that this conversation's come up between the.
Yeah. Very good point. And I just want to emphasize that because, see, this is the backstory that so many of us don't really recognize or understand. Having Marco Rubio discussing that in a documentary on UFOs and Donald Trump isn't in on it, this could have ramifications for future information. Now, the other thing that I've heard, and I've tried to remember where, I promise, maybe I was speculating about it with someone. I have heard that no, I just lost my train of thought. Got it. It was a good one too. Maybe it'll come back, maybe it won't. There's so much to think about in this documentary. Yeah, about we couldn't, 5 years ago, there's 6 years ago, there's no way anyone in government would go on a public documentary and admit that people in office aren't given the secrets. You don't think that's huge? Marco Rubio admitted that. And he said, we're not the ones with the knowledge. The contractors are. And they're the ones with the technology. And we don't have it. We're not even told about it. Look, that's huge. That's going to make people who haven't studied this topic of any kind, that's going to get them sitting bolt upright and saying, what? The government people that we're putting into office don't know about this stuff? Wait a minute. You see how that can snowball into something much more powerful as a way of, yes, they've controlled the narrative for a while, but that narrative is changing. Did they control the narrative on this documentary? Somewhat, yes, they did. We are well aware that not everything that we wanted to hear came out in this documentary. There's no question about that. But there was a lot of stuff that came out that raised my eyebrows for the sheer audacity of it that couldn't possibly have come out 10 years ago from any elected official, let alone any military personnel. And now they're going public in a documentary that has the potential to become the documentary of the year because it's so well done. And it's not just one or two, or maybe only three, or only four, or only five, or only six. There were 34 major people discussed, interviewed, and talking about various aspects of this UAP UFO phenomenon. That is a huge change in the weather of the UFO stigma that is fast disappearing. It would have cost all 34 people in this documentary their careers. They would be janitors this morning if they had done this 10 years ago. Don't tell me that's not a change. You and I don't matter. We're just John Q. Public. Our reputations are completely irrelevant, but the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, the Vice President, the head of NASA, etc., for all of those people, becoming demoted to janitor overnight would have been an absolute disaster, but none of them have that now. That's a huge progress. I get it. It is the drip by drip. I'm so with you. But that's for our own safety because we don't have the big picture. We love to say we are ready. The public is ready. And they mentioned this in the documentary. They did. They said, well, they asked someone, was it Eric Davis? Eric Davis, by the way, did a sensational job That's why I know. Yeah, right. No, I mean, that Eric Davis, he did really good in this documentary, man. So, I just lost that thought again. They did a good job of emphasizing what we can't say and what we can say. But are we psychologically ready? They asked him, do you think the American people are ready for disclosure, for full disclosure? And he said, oh, yes, absolutely. I think so. I don't. And I know I'm a nobody, so it's okay. It's good. It doesn't matter what I think, but it does matter what I think. Every voice matters. We need to have this dialogue, but I don't think we're ready for it. Economically. Psychologically, yeah. I mean, we continue talking about these subjects. You know, I've interviewed Major George Filer on my program with Robert Sheep, you know. I've interviewed some major people. I've interviewed Danny Sheehan and Steve Bassett. I've interviewed some of the big people in this whole community. And we like to think we're psychologically ready, but we're not economically ready. And I suspect that perhaps in order to continue producing the drip, drip, drip exposure, slowly and gently adding more to the information pool, being able to let people know psychologically, okay, now it's okay to go ahead and agree you actually do believe this wacky stuff. But economically, it's going to be very difficult. So they have to prepare us economically first. And I've got horrible news for you. Economically, we're some of the dumbest people on the planet in this country. We are I'm going to follow Dave Ramsey here. I'm going to call you all a bunch of dumb hillbilly hicks for going $1 trillion in credit card debt for automobiles. What in the hell are we doing? $1 trillion in debt, credit card for cars? Holy nightmare, Batman. That's going to come and bite us, man. You're going to have to pay the Pied Piper, man. All of that doesn't just disappear. All of a sudden, everyone's going to want to start getting their money back out of you. Not in monthly payments, easy to afford monthly payments. You think they're going to keep doing that? They're going to want it all or come and get your car or whatever else you're in debt to. That's the concern right now with the government. Is the economic viability of this information safe? And the conclusion is it is not. So we have a lot of work to do. And the hope, perhaps, will be that ET will see that we're not all that wise, and it'll be a little bit patient before it gives us the catastrophic disclosure. I don't know what it's going to do. I don't go out there and do the C5 protocol with them like some people claim they do. Next time some of you do, would you mind asking them about that? I'm serious. If you really think you can communicate with ET that way, why don't you start asking them, well, how are you going to help us? How are you going to prepare us? What can we do to prepare for the catastrophic disclosure worldwide with you guys? Or is it ever going to happen? I don't think, if it is true, everything that's being said, if it is accurate and true, if the ET really can control this place, but they're giving us our free will for whatever reason, right? Maybe we're their food supply and we're just not savvy to that point yet. Wouldn't that cause a complete breakdown, terror, horrifying nightmare movie scene worldwide? if we find out the Matrix was real and we're in it. We're the food. You know, I tried not to think about stuff like that because that's too horrifying. You know, if this really is just kind of an illusion, I'm going to stay here. You know, I'm good. I'm good. See, that's so uncomfortable. We say, oh, yeah, well, we're psychological. We can do it. We're big boys and girls. Yeah, really? You can't buffalo me that way. So these are some of the issues that this documentary is going to generate discussion about with a new group of people who's not going to have the background, the knowledge, and the information that all of us do. And you and I are going to have to be patient because they're going to want to bring up stuff that we already, we already know. Yeah, aliens walk among us and they're in disguise. Let's talk about something new. No, that's not the right way to approach this. They need to assimilate this new information. We're the minority. I don't want to remain a minority if we can help it. So again, you know, that's just, I hope I'm not spouting pie in the sky. This documentary takes a tremendous step of informing the others, our neighbors who used to mock us and tease us about UFOs. You don't know now. They may be coming to your porch step and they may be saying, yo, hey, Shirts. Damn, dude, did you see that documentary? I mean, these guys are pretty high up on officials and they're saying they're real after all, man. And I've been thinking you're the nut job. Maybe I need to know more about it. You never know how this is going to play out. That's what we've got to be ready for, in my opinion. So let me, I've got another, oh, here we go. This is Richard Dolan. I definitely want to play this. Hold on, let me get to this part of Richard's talk. Oh, I'm there right now. Okay, let me play Richard for you for about the next 3 minutes. He talks about David Grush. Let's take a listen here. This is pretty important.
The two of them. There's another interesting aspect of this where Hal Puthoff is speaking about the warp bubble physics, essentially, you can say, and time dilation. It was a very long and I thought interesting discussion about how these objects may, in fact, do the things that they do. Certainly, this is not in a scientifically definitive way, but I think it is fair to say that it's sophisticated as an introduction to how we might understand the movement of these types of objects. He and Davis talked about basically two theories of the energy source from these UAP, touched a little bit on the fossil fuel implications, threats to various people involved in this, the legal barriers. They brought in David Grush, who's there. One thing Jay Stratton stated, this is almost exactly correct as I remember. He said that everything Grush said was correct. That is, there's a program to study the technology of these craft and the bodies. He said, but Grush's statements to the public barely scratched the surface. So there's much, much more there. And Eric Davis also stated about David Grush. He said, he used the phrase 100%. He said, Grush is 100% accurate in what he says.
And how many people have I actually read in comments and videos or seen saying, well, you know, David Grush, yeah, that was a congressional testimony. That was 3 years ago. Give us something new. We're not even understanding the full implication of this. And I don't know if we have that capability. I would hope we do, but look, let's face it. pretty spooky, don't you think? It's definitely different, right? If there are non-human biologics, actual bodies, if there really are living aliens among us, wow, I'm going to start looking. Oh, yeah. You're going to start being mocked for being weird and paranoid. No, I don't shake hands. You might be an alien. Don't be doing that. But the implications of this are fascinating. The psychology, You remember when I'll give you a perfect example. I'll give you a perfect example from my direct personal experience. I did a video after Contact in the Desert. And I said that I met a hybrid and that we talked. We had lunch together. And she told me her story. And do you know, I lost over half my audience over that video. I mean, nosedive. Dude, if you can't even tell the difference between an alien and a human, you don't know what truth is. You'll never be able to find the truth. I don't ever want to watch you again. That's the approach. That's the attitude of people with this. And yet everyone turns around and says, oh, yeah, but I'm psychologically capable of understanding it all. Bullshit. You can't even comprehend what I said about talking with a hybrid. You didn't believe that. That's fascinating, isn't it? Look, I'm in it with you. This is some pretty wild stuff. But when it happens to you, I'm promising you, when it happens to you, it's on a whole different level. You think I'm kidding? Did you see James Fox's interview with Area 52, Chris Ramsey, that he did at Contact in the Desert? Did you watch that video on what James Fox admitted? You think that's easy to talk about? So in a way, the stigma is still here. So because of my experience, right now is the first time in over 6 months that I bothered to ever mention that I talked to a hybrid again. I instantly dropped the subject. I did not want to talk about it because of the stigma. Isn't that remarkable? Hopefully, videos and documentaries like this can get rid of that approach to us. But we want to be in reality. We don't have a clue about reality. You think I'm kidding? Go talk to an Eastern guru. You think I'm joking? Yeah. Read Alan Watts if you think I'm bluffing you. He is one of the most interesting, enlightening, difficult authors I have ever read. And it's not because he uses big, sophisticated words and concepts. It's because psychologically, he is very rough to believe. So I get it. We all want reality. I'm right there with you. However, who gets to decide? And based on what evidence? Evidence changes. Reality changes. You think I'm kidding? Newton gave us reality. And that completely changed with Einstein. Einstein now gave us reality. And that completely changed with Bohr and Bell and Heisenberg. Now it's quantum reality. And even that's not the end of it yet. We still don't know where the hell we're going with discovering what is real. But we love to imagine, wow, everybody else doesn't know, but I know. I know what's real. Yeah, sure you do. Yeah, right on. Ding, point for you. Happy day. I suppose you want to sell a book now, right? So this documentary, in my opinion, is exquisitely good to watch. Get it, watch it, enjoy it, learn from it. No, you're not going to get anything new, or are you? How do you prejudge something you haven't seen based on what someone else said? Because maybe they were having sex while they were watching the video and they weren't paying attention, but they're able to say, yeah, I saw the video and I didn't see anything new. You don't know the circumstances of their attitude when they were watching the documentary. But there's a lot of very powerful, interesting, and good information in this documentary, not only for those of us who know already about this topic, but for our neighbors and friends, and in some cases, unfortunately, maybe some of them have been mocking you because of your belief in the aliens. Ooh, I'm going to get you a tinfoil hat for Christmas, etc. But now they've seen this documentary and they're going to come back to you and they're going to go, dang, man, that was pretty interesting. Can you talk to me about that? I guess I am. I have from a personal friend of mine. I just talked to him on the phone today. His mom and dad have been on the fence about UFOs. He's been studying UFOs since he was 16 years old. Lots of years now. And his mom ended up not mocking him, but teasing him about his understanding and belief in the UFOs. She watched this documentary last night with him. And she turned to him and she said, dang, okay, we've got to talk. You see, it's for people like his mom that this documentary is there. That's why we should be happy with what has happened with this documentary, in my opinion. I'm thrilled I watched it. Well worth my time and money. I would highly recommend you all watch it. In fact, I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch James Fox's documentaries again. Just because you watch it once doesn't mean you know it all and figured it all out. There might be stuff we missed the first and even second times. I'm going to go back and rewatch them all together again, because the information is expanding. We have to, they even said in the documentary, just like Dolan said, Eric Davis said about David Grush. Everything he said was completely true, but it's only scratching the surface, and there's a lot more to this. And we need to keep that in mind, that if they show all the evidence in the documentaries, which I don't think they're going to be allowed to do, that's going to take away the credibility of the big boy government when they decide to disclose. They're going to have some evidence. You want the ideal situation? If a president of the United States, whichever one it's going to be, if it ever happens, is going to be able to show us the inside of Area 51 and show us the craft and the dead bodies when they finally come out and say, yes, it's real. Wouldn't that be awesome? But there's a reason why they don't let the documentaries do that. Because if you want full disclosure as a government, from the government point of view, you've got to do this with absolute certain authority. And fuzzy pictures and videos of shit up there in the sky ain't gonna cut the mustard. We've all had it with the BSing, right? That's why I've come out and said, look, I just want the truth. I just want to see what's real, whatever that by definition is. I don't even claim to know the proper definition of reality, but that's what I want, right? I want to keep it real. I used to say I want to keep it down to earth. Well, the UFOs don't give a damn about being down to earth. They're up in the sky or down under the ocean, right? So I've got to be careful about my parameters. I'm not even joking. Even saying, yeah, I want to keep this real down to earth doesn't give you the ground reality, because there's more to reality than just ground and logic. And that gets into a whole bunch of, epistemological nightmares if you're into the philosophical approach to discovering truth. But we have no choice. It's not only going to be scientific, it's going to be philosophical, it's going to be psychological, it's going to be spiritual. And who among us have worked in all of those areas in order to get prepared? Not very much of us. So, the guy who's showing bravado and macho-ness, or the gal that says, of course, I am ready, I would be able to stand it, for damn good and sure, because they're the loudest ones, that they wouldn't be able to handle it. Right? So be careful what you wish for. But do keep learning, and you probably can't do bad by watching this documentary by Dan Farah. So that's all I've got tonight. Thank you for your time. Appreciate all your support. Hit the like and subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. Sorry. Come on. I had to rib my friend Patrick at Vetted. He keeps saying he's trying to make 100,000, and he may very well. I hope he does. I wish him the best. Yeah. It's all good. We're all having fun together. We're all learning together. Hopefully, we're all staying friends. And, let's hope the UFOs and the aliens are friendly. And let's hope we're wise enough not to start a war with a superior species. Sometimes our military scares me far worse than any of the aliens could, simply because of the short-sighted, myopic, ridiculous way they think. But anyway, all right, you guys, this is me signing off. I love y'all, but I gotta go. You guys have a great night. Thank you for all your support. I appreciate it. Yes, and Bob Lazar, let me say real quick, Bob Lazar was confirmed in this documentary. You think I'm kidding, don't you? No joke. Those of you who have been mocking Bob Lazar, time out. You better double think things. Go watch this documentary. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. No kidding. So, all right, you guys, I'll catch up to you as soon as I can. Absolutely. Appreciate all of you. See you soon. I'll be back with lots of videos on UFOs and more on Tolkien. I know some of you said you wanted more Tolkien. I will be happy. I've got lots of stuff on Tolkien. That is superb stuff. Greatest literature ever. True story. I'll show you.